What if I told you that one of the most iconic American muscle cars of all time had a sibling that offered nearly the same style, almost as much performance, but at a more accessible price point? And what if that sibling has been living in the shadow of its more famous brother for over 5 decades? The 1967 Pontiac LeMans, the unsung hero of Pontiac's lineup that deserves way more recognition than it gets. Sure, everyone knows about the legendary GTO, but the LeMans, that's automotive history that deserves to be rediscovered. Let's pop the hood on one of America's most underappreciated muscle cars. To understand the 1967 LeMans, we need to back up a bit. The LeMans name first appeared in Pontiac's lineup in 1962 as a trim package for the Tempest, named after the famous 24-hour race in France. By 1966, it had become its own model in Pontiac's intermediate lineup. What many people don't realize is that the GTO itself started as an option package for the Le Mans before becoming its own model. That's right, the legendary GOAT was originally just a souped-up Le Mans. Talk about family connections. The 1967 model year represented the second year of the second generation, with the Le Mans sharing the same platform as the Chevrolet Chevelle, Buick Skylark, and Oldsmobile Cutlass. This was General Motors' A-body platform, which had been completely redesigned for 1966 with more muscular styling and improved performance capabilities. The 67 LeMans was a looker, no doubt about it. While sharing the same basic body shell as the GTO, it had its own distinct identity with different grille treatments, trim packages, and badging. The LeMans featured clean, flowing lines with a forward thrust appearance that was all the rage in mid-60s automotive design. The fastback roofline on the two-door hardtop models gave it an especially sporty appearance that still turns heads today. The car's key styling elements created a cohesive design language that still looks fantastic today. It featured a split grille design that was slightly less aggressive than the GTO's, with subtle body creases running along the fenders and doors that added visual interest without being overdone. The stacked headlights gave it a sophisticated look that was becoming a Pontiac trademark, while the gently sloping rear deck on hardtop models created a dynamic profile. Throughout the exterior, chrome trim was applied tastefully rather than excessively, striking the perfect balance between sporty and elegant. One of my favorite details is the way the taillights were integrated into the rear bumper, a distinctive touch that set Pontiac apart from other GM divisions. And unlike some of its competitors, the LeMans managed to look both sporty and upscale at the same time. The 67 LeMans was available in several body styles: 2-door hardtop, 4-door hardtop, 2-door convertible, and 4-door sedan. The 2-door hardtop and convertible were the most desirable then, and remain so today for collectors. Now let's get to what really matters to many of you. What was under the hood of the 67 LeMans? While it didn't come standard with the GTO's monster engines, the LeMans still offered impressive power plants that could hold their own at stoplights. The base engine was a 230 cubic inch inline-six, producing a respectable 165 horsepower. But the real star of the 6-cylinder lineup was the OHC Sprint 6, one of the most technologically advanced American engines of its day. The OHC overhead cam Sprint 6 was a 230 cubic inch inline-six with a single overhead camshaft. Pretty exotic stuff for an American car in 1967. It produced 215 horsepower, which was incredible output for a 6-cylinder at the time. This innovative engine was developed with assistance from Pontiac's experience with race engines and some inspiration from overseas designs. For those who wanted V8 power, the LeMans offered several compelling options. The base V8 was a 326 cubic inch engine, producing a solid 250 horsepower, plenty of motivation for the average driver. Enthusiasts could step up to a higher output version of the 326 with a 4-barrel carburetor that made 285 horsepower, bringing it much closer to GTO territory. Later in the production run, some lucky buyers could even get their hands on a 350 cubic inch V8 that churned out an impressive 320 horsepower, blurring the line between the LeMans and its more famous sibling. While these weren't the 400 cubic inch monsters available in the GTO, they provided plenty of performance for most drivers. The 326 4-barrel could push the Le Mans from 0 to 60 in about 7.5 seconds. Not too shabby for 1967. Transmission options included a standard 3-speed manual, an optional 4-speed manual, or the 2-speed automatic power glide. For those willing to pay a bit more, the excellent 3-speed turbo-hydromatic automatic was also available. The Le Mans occupied a crucial middle position in Pontiac's lineup in 1967. It was positioned above the entry-level Tempest, but below the premium GTO in the intermediate range. This positioning was strategic for Pontiac. The Le Mans offered buyers a chance to get much of the style and a good portion of the performance of the GTO, but at a more accessible price point. In 1967, a base Le Mans hardtop coupe had a sticker price of around $2,700, while a similarly equipped GTO would run closer to $3,100. That $400 difference was significant back then, about $3,500 in today's money. Pontiac produced approximately 75,000 LeMans models for 1967 compared to around 82,000 GTOs. These numbers show just how popular the LeMans actually was, even if it doesn't get the same recognition today. Like most American cars of the era, the 67 Le Mans could be personalized with a wide array of options and packages. The Custom Sport CS package was popular, adding bucket seats, enhanced interior trim, and additional exterior brightwork. You could also opt for rally gauges, a floor shifter, and a custom sport steering wheel to give your Le Mans a more performance-oriented feel inside. Exterior options included vinyl tops in various colors, rally wheels, and special paint treatments. Some Le Mans models were ordered with the hood tach, a tachometer mounted on the hood that was more commonly associated with the GTO. One interesting option was the Rally package, which added performance-oriented suspension components and wider tires for improved handling. This package transformed the Le Mans into a surprisingly capable corner carver for its time. While the GTO has stolen most of the spotlight in pop culture, the Le Mans has made some notable appearances. Car enthusiasts will probably remember that a 1967 Pontiac LeMans convertible was featured in the 1992 film My Cousin Vinny. That's right, the identical car that becomes a crucial plot point wasn't a Tempest as often misquoted, but a Le Mans. Famous owners have included musicians, athletes, and even some Hollywood personalities who preferred the slightly more understated Le Mans to the flashier GTO. Elvis Presley reportedly owned a 67 Le Mans at one point, though like many celebrities, his car collection was vast and ever-changing. In racing, while the GTO got most of the factory support, several independent racers campaigned Le Mans models in local drag racing and road course events, sometimes with impressive results when equipped with the right performance options. So, why doesn't the Le Mans get the same respect as the GTO today? It comes down to a few factors. First, the muscle car narrative of the era has been simplified over time to focus on the most powerful, most extreme models. The GTO, with its bigger engines and bolder marketing, naturally got more attention. Second, Pontiac's own marketing positioned the GTO as the star, with the Le Mans as the supporting player. This hierarchy has persisted in collector circles. Finally, the name itself lacks the mystique of GTO. Le Mans might reference an iconic race, but GTO, standing for Gran Turismo Omologato, just sounds more exotic and special to American ears. But here's the thing. Today, a nicely restored Le Mans often offers 90% of the GTO experience at 60% of the price. For collectors looking to get into classic Pontiacs, that makes the Le Mans one of the best values in the vintage car world. The 1967 Pontiac LeMans deserves to be remembered not just as the car that spawned the GTO, but as a fantastic automobile in its own right. With its clean styling, varied powertrain options including the innovative OHC6, and comfortable interior, it represented the best of what made American cars great in the 1960s. What I love most about the Le Mans is that it was the thinking person's muscle car. All the style with a bit more practicality, all the presents with a bit less pretense. It was the perfect car for someone who wanted performance but didn't need to shout about it. If you're considering getting into classic car ownership, I'd strongly suggest looking at a 67 Le Mans before automatically gravitating to a GTO. You might find that the less famous sibling actually fits your needs and your budget much better than its legendary brother. The 1967 Pontiac LeMans deserves its place in automotive history, not just as the car that spawned the GTO, but as a fantastic automobile that represented the best of what made American cars great in the 1960s. Keep those classics rolling.